Let's do it. All right.
Welcome back to Second Look. I'm Allie.
And I'm Nathan.
And today we're going to be talking about the long-awaited
Very long-awaited
Justice League, the next film in the DC cinematic universe.
DC, I think they just call it the DC universe, but
They're
and
more
then again, I'm not.
straightforward.
Yeah, they're more straightforward about it. But honestly, as long as you recognize that it's a universe, they want you to know that it's a universe. So
Oh yeah.
it's the latest film, and so this is the equivalent of the Avengers for Marvel, just for DC. It's got the gang's all here. We've got Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and the Flash. I got them all without having to think about it too hard. But yeah, so what were your gut reactions right off the bat about Justice League? A high-pitched whine.
It wasn't that bad, but I feel like,
but
and that's what a lot of other people I've talked to have been saying, or like everyone on Snapchat is like, Justice League isn't that bad. But I feel like if everyone is saying it's not that bad, it's bad. I feel like if that's like almost everyone's just blanket statement, it's bad.
I feel like if that's the criteria that you're using to judge a movie of saying, oh no, it's not that bad, then that speaks volumes about the state of your cinematic universe as a whole.
Yeah.
And so we can go over that. I mean, the DCU really started off with Man of Steel, the first Zack Snyder Superman movie. I think I can boldly make that claim.
Yeah.
Yeah, Man of Steel.
Confident in that.
I'm somewhat confident. Man of Steel. They went on to make Batman v Superman. Also, Wonder Woman was included, and gosh, if there's another one, Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad.
Can't forget Suicide Squad.
Right.
It won an Oscar.
It did win an Oscar.
Same amount of Oscars as Arrival.
I was about to say no, it didn't, but it did. The point is that we can actually compare Justice League, and we're going to inevitably for the entire review to all the past DC universe movies, and because it's just they've had kind of a rough start, and by kind of a rough start, it's really there's no other way for other than saying it's been a bit of a train wreck up to this point, with excluding Wonder Woman, which was pretty all right. But specifically, they actually have been basically DC has been trying to keep up with Marvel as much as they possibly can. Yeah. And even from the first opening, I remember that this happened with Wonder Woman, but even from the first opening cinematic intro to the DC cinematic universe, they say it just seems like it's aping Marvel to this to the point that it's just not impressive at all. It's just kind of sad.
And this one actually had more, I guess, specifics onto why, or more reasoning behind that, since Joss Whedon, who directed Avengers, came on to direct, Justice League.
Right. He helmed it afterward when there was a switching of the directorial roles. Mm-hmm. That's actually something that's really important to note before we go in here. The film was initially set for, how was the runtime? 2 hours and 55 minutes?
52.
2 hours and 52 minutes, and then 50 minutes worth of content were cut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I think that might have been like a studio executive order. I
thought that was Joss Whedon's.
But I don't know for sure, but some people are saying it was Joss's calling, but some people say the studio was Batman vs Superman was too bogged down, not doing it this time. But
sure, I think they could go either way. Regardless, some party initially thought it was a good idea to make this film 3 hours. Obviously, it had to be 3 hours because they're trying to introduce 3 new characters into the mix: Cyborg, Aquaman, and the Flash. They've already established Wonder Woman at least as a character. They've already established Batman in this universe as well. So they had to at least introduce 3 new characters and introduce a plot that was, setting the world at stake, because it always has to be save the world every single time. Avengers too, and Marvel's not Marvel's at fault here too. Yeah. But so they basically had to do a lot of catching up, and so they had to jam pack it full of a 3 hour length movie.
But I hate that though. They don't have to catch up. I feel like, I personally feel like there doesn't need to be that competition.
Sure.
I don't know. I'm just not completely sold on that personally.
I think that's getting into the review or they see it in the angle of how their films are doing at the box office and what they need to do to make them perform better at the box office. I think that the route that they're going currently right now is, I think the most powerful tool to use to gauge to gauge how well a movie does is word of mouth. And if a movie does really, really well, if a movie is inherently good, like it was inherently a good movie, word of mouth spreads and people tell you, oh, hey, that clown's really scary, go see it. They take all their friends to go see it. But if it's not inherently good or interesting or captivating, no one's going to go home and say, hey, Justice League blew me away, you should all go see it. And so it's not going to have that lasting, staying impression like other better movies are going to have. I think DC needs to really slow their roll when it comes to making movies to actually make like quality films.
Yeah, and actually develop your characters.
Yeah,
you know?
which we can cover the plot, but then we'll have to get into the characters because there's like 6 of them. So, yeah, the plot of Justice League. This I think was, I guess I'll say unsurprisingly, was kind of one of the weaker points of the film. It was contrived as all get out. It was the most like just bare bones. There's a threat somewhere, and it's a space threat. We somehow have to put the world at stake. And there's cubes. I remember I almost face palmed actually when that happened. Like, okay, listen, I am a little bit cynical, but I'm not that cynical. But like, here's the thing. I get it when we have to introduce a MacGuffin into the plot. I understand whenever we have to say, look, here's the XYZ, here's the coupon you have to go collect because it's important because of reasons. But even this was just like, it was so on the nose. They were called mother boxes.
Oh, God.
They were called mother boxes, and there was 3 of them. They were given to different parties. One was given, this was, of course, way long ago in Earth's history. One was given to the Atlanteans, one to the Amazonians, the Amazon women, and then one was given to man, and that was buried under 4 feet of dirt.
Yeah.
And so that was
like, you don't even dig a grave like that shallow.
No, it was like a couple little layers of dirt. The point is that there's 3 important cubes that look exactly like the Allspark from Transformers. I couldn't get that out of my head. Okay. And they need to all be collected in order to combine to create a power cube or whatever. And there's a big baddie who's in plate armor, straight out of
the most generic looking video game boss.
He's really video gamey.
And I feel bad saying that. Like, I feel like that's dogging on video games. Like, video games usually have much more developed and detailed super guys. So this is just.
And granted, that was I think the weakest point about Wonder Woman was that it kind of fell apart towards the end of the 3rd act for me because it became too the first opening scenes for Wonder Woman, the first couple of action sequences were really really good. They were really they were very creative. They were the Amazons were doing acrobatic fight styles. It was really cool. By the 3rd act, it got kind of like a video game where you had a big baddie in power armor who looks almost indistinguishable from this big bad guy in power armor.
Yeah.
It was really contrived, all the way through. But they needed a reason, and they got their reason.
They got it.
Big bad guy comes in from outer space, and he has his space bugs with him.
Space bug.
They're basically space bugs.
Things.
Actually, they're like vampires. They're considered demons by Wonder Woman. They're like vampiric demon things, whatever. They're basically.
They were hinted at, They're not new.
They?
It was hinted at in Batman vs Superman. Batman had that that vision nightmare, and those demon bugs.
It's just going right over. It's just completely going right over. I've completely forgotten that.
I don't know how I remember that, but it was hinted at. They've been planning this for a bit.
They have.
We have been led up to this moment.
We have.
So much has gone into it.
Not as painstakingly as Marvel did it. Marvel took quite a few more movies just to get up to the Avengers. And they did it with a bit more subtlety and grace. But by God, they got it with here.
Flying demon bugs.
We got here with DC. And so it's oh man, it's impossible not to compare it to how the Marvel engine that's been created up to this point. And it was just, even though Marvel also had a big giant doomsday device and space bugs, I just feel like working with the source material, maybe this is getting a little bit too heady for the subject matter, but maybe it's just the source material that's broken for the DC universe. Maybe just the superheroes in the DC universe are just not able to be made into solid, well-rounded, 3-dimensional characters. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's the case. That's kind of the issue with some Marvel characters, but maybe that's the issue here. Batman can be done very well. He's been done well before.
Yeah, sure.
But getting into the rest of this, Superman, who's at least alluded to in this film. We'll get into spoilers later, but he's as a character, he's just not strong.
He's the generic superhero.
Yeah.
Anytime you think of a superhero, you're like, oh, flying, laser vision.
Yeah, he was the first.
Stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He was the first superhero, and so it was the superness from him was just the fact that he can. Oh, he's here to save the day, and he's going to lift up a building.
Everything.
Said some guy from the 1940s, and that was that was his thing.
Yeah.
And so when you try to make that into a 3-dimensional, interesting character, it just falls apart because he's infinitely powerful. He's a very powerful character. Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I guess we can get into characters now.
Yes. Who's your favorite character?
Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Because she's the only one that's actually developed.
Yeah, I'd agree.
She did cool stuff.
Batman was there. I'll say Batman was a little bit developed. He, however, wasn't my favorite character just because he legitimately looked like he didn't want to be here.
Yeah, no, he looked
Ben Affleck was not happy with this. It kind of shows. Like he's just really like just like giving it his bare minimum. Like
I can't believe they're making me do this.
Yeah.
Like, and he was a character that we followed most of the film.
Yes. Oh yeah. He's essentially our. I hesitate to say protagonist, but he's basically the protagonist role. You follow him throughout the entire movie. It's from his perspective that he's trying to unite the League, and then we get a very piecemeal introductions to the rest of our cast, and that includes Cyborg, Aquaman, and the Flash. Mm-hmm. You can tell throughout the movie that there were moments where they wanted to give more character depth, or moments where they wanted to really try to flesh out these characters, and it's just, I really wonder if their hands were tied when it came to the time constraint, because if the movie was cut to just 2 hours, which is short for a massive superhero flick like this, even though it still felt like it dragged on a little bit. But if you cut it too short, then in that case you run the risk of not having developed characters. If you run it too long, then you run the risk, not even a risk, it's like a guarantee of it becoming bogged down and tedious. Mm-hmm. And so I guess I would prefer the shorter version, but at the cost of these characters that are just there.
Yeah, and they could have been so cool.
Could have been.
They could have been.
Well, Aquaman's debatable, but
yeah.
A lot of people are going to fight me on that. But.
I was disappointed in The Flash. I'm a big fan of The Flash. I really like not really like, but I enjoy
You're the world's biggest fan of
the television. It turns out, no.
Oh, sure. Yeah, the television series, which is something that a friend of mine brought up.
And I think I don't know if there's probably people that disagree with me, but I think the Barry Allen in the TV show is perfect.
Okay.
In my opinion, as someone who
that's what my friend said.
Doesn't know everything about him in the comics, but
sure.
And this was Ezra Miller, is his name, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
He was
an actor.
Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them.
Oh my god.
He was the angsty emo kid.
You're right. Oh wow.
Anyway, I don't know. I feel like the character in general is just too much. They try to use him a lot to like set up the jokes.
I think you're looking for too funny. Because too funny, but funny's in quotations there.
Exactly. Okay, that's perfect. I didn't want to say funny.
Because he's not.
It's not. But Barry Allen, he's this really smart scientist and stuff, and I was just not getting that at all.
No, he's not.
I was getting this annoying teenager, and almost too much like Spider-Man, but for Spider-Man it works.
Yes, I'd agree with that. In this, he was the Flash was relegated to like basically the role of and this is for comedy. He was relegated to the role of the awkward millennial. That's basically it to a T. I mean, he just had like this. Okay, he's just awkward at social encounters, and he's gonna make sure that he brings it up every single time.
Yep.
Oh, what's brunch even? What does brunch mean? And the audience laughs.
Relatable content.
I don't know what brunch is either. Like it was awkward, very awkward.
Cheap.
There were a couple. It's like the kind of humor where like maybe like at its best, like maybe like a couple lines that worked, you kind of went like. But like not funny, not like a setup joke, not a, like it's like it was almost improv or ad libbed, and it was just like not. Yeah. It was man. So he's relegated to just like the comedic beat, like the comedic bit there. Yeah. His superpowers were cool. Yeah. He had a cool superpower. That gets into one of my positive remarks for it later. One of the fight scenes I thought was well done later on. But then we also had Aquaman, who seemed really, really very negligible in this entire movie.
Yeah, I feel like he was cool to look at.
He was cool to look at.
He was very cool
Jason Momoa, good job.
But you could have just taken his character out, and it had no effect on the plot.
Yeah, absolutely, 100% true. He did one thing with water, specifically with like the whole team involved.
Was it water or was it like alien fluid? It
was like sewage water.
Sewage.
They were underneath the Gotham Harbor.
I was thinking of a different part. Never mind.
It definitely wasn't later on in the movie. Towards like the latter half of the film, he doesn't do anything
with
water.
The spoilers.
That's spoilers now.
But
there's no water
there is
in the end
that
of the
sewage
movie.
part.
Sorry.
Well, there was that fight. But no, he didn't do anything.
We'll get there. So, yeah. We'll get there. The point is that I felt like him being Aquaman, he needs to do stuff related to water to showcase his powers. And he does visit Atlantis for a short while during one of the earlier moments of the scenes. And that's about it. He gets one-on-one conversation with another Atlantean, and that's about it. And then he's kind of relegated. His entire personality archetype is just that of the loner who's...
I'm tough.
The tough loner.
Protect this small town.
And we've already got Batman for that.
I don't care about global warming.
Oh, yeah.
That was my biggest thing. Aquaman doesn't care about global warming?
Yeah.
What?
There's a line in there where, Bruce Wayne's trying to...
Where did that come from?
Bruce Wayne's trying to convince him. He says, "Oh, so what? Man just screwed up. Global warming's rampant, and you don't care." And he's like, "I don't care if the oceans boil away, and it's like, I don't care if the oceans dry up." And he's like, "Okay, sorry, Aquaman. I guess you're just so cool. You don't even need the water."
Yep.
Yeah. So Aquaman was just kind of there. You're right. He looked cool.
Yeah,
Gosh, that's about it. And then lastly, we have Cyborg, who's the new character.
It looked weird.
And moving on, we also Cyborg was I think he had one good scene between him and his father as they're discussing when they were in the apartment, and he's discussing kind of the gist of his entire character of what am I? Am I a human being? Am I a monster? There's one good bit of dialogue where he says have they seen the monster or whatever? And the dad's like, "Oh no, they don't know about you." And he's like, "Oh, it's funny that you thought I was referring to me." That was the one good. I was like, "Ooh, good jab there, Cyborg."
Got him.
But that was about it. The CG was distractingly weird.
Yeah. So from the way the movie set this up, I was interpreting that the Cyborg in this film was pretty much the same age as the Flash. They're pretty similar because he was a high school football star.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff. And so I was like, okay, he's younger.
Yeah.
He acted like he was, he's gone through a lot, of course, but he just acted like he was.
He's
gone through a lot, but
he's got
it was just he was just wise through the years, and he was just very serious. And I guess I can't give him his dad just kind of made him into a weapon.
Yeah, I think.
But there was just such a stark difference between him and the Flash.
I think that'd be chalked up to him just becoming literally a machine-like robot. His voice is very monotone because he's a machine.
Yeah.
He says there's another language in his head that he can't even read. Then he also says it's not even necessarily just binary language. Whatever. The point is that he also just kind of exists. The possible juicy drama between him and his dad never really gets fully explored. They have that good dialogue there for a moment. And then later on, he's helping save civilians, and his dad's there as well. And he's like, "Oh, just go get him to safety." That's gone. Then that's it. His character arc's finished right there. So yeah, I think the gist of what we're getting at here is that in terms of character arcs, they don't really develop much as people.
Nope.
Individually, they don't. And there's the team element there where at first they're kind of they don't know who each other are. They regard each other very warily and with disrespect. And then by the end of it, they team up and use the power of friendship to defeat the bad guy, as per usual, as per Marvel films. But at the same time, there's just no drama there. There's just no emotional attachment or investment to these characters.
Yeah.
Even for Batman and even for Wonder Woman, from my perspective, it's just kind of just there.
Yeah.
So, and with that, I think we have to get into spoilers because otherwise, that's the end of the review.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what was your favorite spoilery moment? Probably not the best question to ask. What's the big spoiler that isn't really a spoiler?
Superman's back! Who knew that would happen?
Who would have thunk it? Yeah, Superman's back. Were you surprised?
No.
No, I wasn't. You know why? Because even on the poster, it's got a big dumb S on it that says Superman.
The one major death of emotional impact in Batman versus Superman.
That wasn't that emotional to start with, but it was the one thing they had going for him.
Cancel that because he's back.
Yep, he's back.
Death means nothing.
It's, and that's what led me back to the point I made earlier about how maybe it's just the source material that's just broken, and that you just can't do anything with it because. They tried. Man of Steel introduced Superman, Batman v Superman. They went the only route that they could, where they said, "Here's Superman, an unkillable god.
This great figure of hope.
Civilians. But maybe he's not. What if he goes evil? What if he's blah, 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 blah?" They tried to go down the, I'll say, philosophical route. The problem was that it was Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor who was going down the philosophical route, which made me despise every moment of it. I just can't stand him as an actor. Point is that they tried that with Superman, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for a popcorn flick because people don't want that depressing garbage. It doesn't work because it's like a contrasting comic book thing. It just doesn't work for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
And so when you finally kill off Superman and then you just bring him back to life, it's like, okay, well, great, he's back now. And then we're reminded of just how powerful he is with the final fight. And it's
ridiculous.
Like, do they even need a Justice League?
They just need to call up Superman whenever something goes wrong.
They just need to say, hey.
Everyone else, don't waste your time. This guy's got it.
He's got it. Because it literally happened. Like, they're all trying to fight him. They can't keep up to the big bad evil guy who's in power armor. They're all trying to fight him. And they just can't. And then all of a sudden, da-da-da. I mean, it doesn't make that sound yet, but it makes that sound after he punches him. And Superman comes flying in.
Saves the day.
Saves the day easily. To the point that like he doesn't like save civilians and then is like flying back and he actually says the words verbatim. He says, "Is this guy still bothering you?"
Yeah.
Boom, punches him. He's just gone. And it's like there's now no tension whatsoever. Like there's no triumphant winning of the battle. It's just Superman's here. Everything, all is well. Everything's fine. No problem.
Yeah.
I think it's the source material. I'm going to blame it on source material. I don't think you can make Superman an interesting character. I think it's impossible.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if you're a fan of DC. Like maybe there are instances in the comic where Superman is used interestingly, specifically when Batman is beating him up. But in regards to him being a good character, I just think it's impossible to make him 3D and well-rounded. I think it's just because he was literally like the first superhero ever created.
Perfect.
He's too perfect. Even his one weakness being kryptonite, he always overpowers and struggles through.
Exactly, yeah. We need more dimension.
Need more dimension to him, and so I think he's just weak as a character. What were some things, because we've just been absolutely bashing this movie, what were some things that you might have liked or thought were well done?
So...
I've got two.
They revived Superman in the alien water sewage thing.
Yes, the alien ship. Yes,
that
thing,
Aquaman
yes.
that was holding him in the water. So he did 2 water-related things. Just saying, there was 2.
That doesn't count. He was literally stepping into the pool of water. You didn't do anything.
In the water, it counts. Anyway.
Oh, yikes.
And so,
okay.
So, you know, they're kind of weird because, like, we don't, is he going to be messed up when he gets up? Is he going to
yes.
remember? He's going to hate us?
Is he going to be a zombie Superman?
And I liked, they fought him, all the gang except Batman.
He doesn't fight him.
They fought him because Cyborg's arm malfunctioned and shot a missile at him.
I think so.
But I really liked the fight.
Yeah.
Particularly.
And this is the one positive thing
And this is, I think, also like kind of almost too similar to X-Men.
Sure.
And like with Quicksilver, but Flash was like, you know, he's really fast. He's punched him, and you're like, okay, you know, this kid, he's doing some work on evil Superman at the moment.
Confused Superman.
Confused Superman.
Yeah.
Understandably confused Superman.
Yes.
But then there's a second, the Flash, he's running, and I think this Apocalypse is the exact same thing X-Men, and he just looks over.
Yeah.
And just
that was absolutely that was one of the 2 parts I really enjoyed too. And yeah, it also made my comic book friend who I was watching the movie with just livid. He was just so angry because he said, again, it's like apparently in the comic, I don't know, I'm just not a comic book reader. Apparently in the comics, like Flash is fast, obviously faster, I believe, but there's moments where it's like debated whether he and Superman are actually faster. But Superman isn't supposed to like be able to move casually fast enough as the Flash, whatever. I think coming from an outside perspective, it helps you then because I was coming from an outside perspective where that was both hilarious and also like just like kind of cool. Yeah. Because like they're all 3 of them, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Aquaman, are like trying to like hold on to Superman, who's shirtless also because why not? We have to get all the dudes shirtless at some point. Who's just, but he's he's a built dude. And he's like holding them all off, and then the Flash is coming up the side, like looking at him, trying to see his way in. And then Superman, you just see his eyes just turn, and then he turns his whole head, and then it cuts back to the Flash, and he's just got this scared look on his face, where he's just, oh no! It was probably, it was actually, it made me laugh out loud in a good way, not at the movie. Like it was laughing with it, and it was just awesome. And then they have the cool fight scene where Superman's just slower than the Flash, but the Flash is also kind of clumsy. So he's like tripping over himself, trying to get away from Superman, trying to push him away. Yeah. That was well done. That was where slow motion effects were used efficiently, as they should have been, and it was fine. And I think that was actually a well done fight scene. Yeah.
It did remind me too much of Quicksilver.
Yeah. But at the same time, we can't just say
it was different.
We can't just say that Quicksilver now automatically has the monopoly on the slow motion scenes.
Exactly.
But you're right. Yeah, it was a little bit reminiscent of that. But it was also the main positive thing of this movie.
It had its differences. So.
Yeah. The other positive thing I'd say for Justice League is literally one camera shot of the movie where Aquaman is walking towards you on a pier and he's downing an entire bottle of whiskey to the sounds of the White Stripes' Icky Thump. I clapped a little bit. Clapped a little bit. It was more like a clap of surprise. It just went like this, and I laughed because it was great. It's like, there's no way I can say it wasn't.
Can't argue that.
But I think that what we're getting at here is that if really, unless there's anything else specifically that you really liked about it, if these are the moments, if these are the small, almost nitpicking moments of good, positive things we found in it, and not the overarching character plots, not the overarching or character developments and the overarching plot and the dynamic between them, if these are the small positive things we're picking out of this movie, I think it really shows how this movie works as a whole, which is to say, not well. Yeah, not at all.
It just doesn't work.
It just doesn't for a lot of reasons.
You know, so it did have 2 directors.
Sure. Yeah, there was a transfer
of directors.
When Joss
Whedon took over, you know, I think they reshot at least like half of it.
Yep.
And there were times I could tell, I was like, okay, so this definitely is a scene that had more of Joss Whedon's input.
Sure.
And this was a scene that had more of Zack Snyder's input.
Zack Snyder's, yeah. And then therefore I don't like it as much.
Yeah, because they're like, you know, because Zack Snyder's thing is to get a little dark, get a little grungy, and Marvel in general is more colorful. And this movie, it was really colorful.
It was more colorful than most movies.
It was more colorful, not really colorful, but more.
Yeah, more so. But they're learning. Yeah. They're getting there.
They're getting there. But I don't know, part of me, I do tend to like sometimes the darker kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's why a lot of people are fans of DC over Marvel, like they prefer DC, is because they are fans of the darker material.
Yeah.
And I just feel like this film, like it's going to disappoint those fans, you know.
I think it's a really valid point because it tries to kind of more aping Marvel in the aspect of, like, again, the Flash is just reduced to just like little one-liners.
Yeah.
As a character, he's just like the millennial kid who just makes little quips.
And that disappointed me.
Yeah.
A lot.
I think it's actually a really good point. I think that getting in towards the perspective of whether or not you really enjoy DC or the DCU for that matter at the moment, in the versus if you're just kind of coming in as an outsider. I think if you're a big fan of DC, like my friend was, I think that you're going to be disappointed by this movie for a number of different reasons.
Yeah.
Just because the characters seem out of their usual, the outside of the tone that they should be. Apparently Aquaman is supposed to be very, you know, royal, very kingly, very stoic.
And care about global warming.
And care about the oceans.
Part of his thing.
And in this movie, he's relegated to just I'm the loner who's
I'm cool and
BA.
edgy.
Yeah, cool and edgy.
I drink lots of alcohol.
Yeah. And icky thump.
Cool.
So that's, I think that as a big fan of DC, I think you'll be disappointed in that regard. Yeah. And I think that not being a big fan of DC going into it, I think that you'll be disappointed as well because it's a movie that's got weird moments of editing that just don't work. The action is lackluster. Mm-hmm. I kind of knew from the very beginning with the scene with Wonder Woman saving all the people inside the bank or whatever. It's like the opening action scene. It was like it just looked awkward and weird.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no.
That disappointed me. I really wanted to see Wonder Woman just rock it.
Yeah. And it was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, it obviously just devolves into big superhero punch-out fights, which are my least favorite thing in existence. When you have 2 super powerful characters that are just punching each other extra hard and then they go flying farther. Yep. Like, it's the most boring action I can think of.
Yeah, it's not interesting.
Yeah, it just isn't. So, yeah. Sorry it's so bleak. Yeah. Sorry that this review is so bleak, just like the rest of the DCU.
We're sad too.
I
want good movies. I want great superhero movies, and this just isn't one.
I never want a DC movie to fail. I never want. I'm getting more tired of superhero films in general, but whenever I go into one that's somewhat refreshing, like Thor Ragnarok, it reminds me of how great they can be.
Yeah.
But just DC, with the exception of the first 2/3 of Wonder Woman, for me. DC just regularly does not produce good content.
It's sad.
And I think it's because they rely way too much on Zack Snyder as a director. He's got his grip just on the entire universe, and they're afraid to branch out and let small scale directors have their go at it, which is what Marvel does. Marvel says, hey, you're an up and coming director, you've done a couple good pieces, you handle Ant-Man.
Yeah.
And then it turns out to be pretty good because they care about it. And instead DC, with Suicide Squad, there was an editing mess where they just said they tried to jam too much into there and too long of a movie. It got edited too much and just turned out to be just a mess. And I think that that's
fire.
a dumpster
That's
fire.
the word I like to use.
That's not bad. But I think that it's just until DC really gets their act together, until they really want to start taking their time and slowing down with these movies and giving them to smaller, more caring directors, I think that they're going to keep getting the same results, which is bad critical reviews, not very good returns at the box office, and they're just barely squeaking by.
Sad.
Sad but true.
Yeah.
I have nothing else. I've got nothing else for it. I mean, it's just, I hope in the future that they turn it around, but this was not a good stepping stone in that direction for me.
But, they have more movies coming up.
They do.
Aquaman solo film next year.
Aquaman solo
where
film.
they're going to actually develop him, hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'll see. So, would you recommend this film to others?
I think this time I'm going to get to say no. No for basically anyone. Fans of DC, let's be honest, you're going to go see it anyways. But I think that going in, you should hold your expectations in reserve because you're most likely going to be disappointed in some regard by it. I think people who are outside of the DC fandom, I think that you're going to be, you're just not going to enjoy it as much as a typical Marvel film. They're a little bit more inclusive, a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more well polished, and this film's just not that polished. So I can't recommend this movie.
Yeah, same. If the general consensus is that it's not that bad, then you shouldn't be seeing it.
Yeah.
If you want good superhero movies, you need to stop supporting bad ones.
That's true.
Like I say this all the time, you vote with your money.
That's true.
And if this film does really well, they're just going to keep cranking them out like this.
I say, Zach, we need you again for the next one. And he's going to say, sure thing. And it's going to be the same slow-mo fight scenes, the same somewhat dark, weird, out-of-place undertone.
So,
Yeah.
I think as soon as people just stop supporting this, stop paying for it, then maybe we'll see a change.
Nope.
But until then,
got
lots of films coming out next year.
We do. There are more films
Years
coming out
after
next year.
that, so.
There is a Deadpool teaser that plays at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's kind of funny. Maybe go see it for that.
You can watch it on YouTube.
You can watch it on YouTube, actually. Don't
Just
do that.
kidding,
Never
don't
mind,
do it.
just
It's on
kidding.
Reddit
See it
all
on
over the
YouTube.
place.
Go watch it on YouTube. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching.
We appreciate you walking as well. But we
keep
enjoy you watching
doing it
this
if you
as well.
can.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We'll make sure to catch you guys next time on Second Look.